Chris, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, fellas. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Bitcoin IRA, I'm so curious. What is it? What problem are we solving? What are you guys doing? Just give us kind of a high-level overview, and then we'll kind of dive in.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem we're trying to solve is about 13 years ago, my partners and I had a realization that we have a retirement crisis in America. There's a lack of financial literacy. There's a lack of businesses matching 401ks these days. People are more gig economy, so they're not actually saving, and expenses and cost of living has just skyrocketed. That what's the last thing you think about doing? Saving for the future. You've got about 50% of America that's one missing paycheck or one emergency away from bankruptcy. And so our mission was to help more Americans retire. And we took that as, you can't do it the old school way. This isn't our grandfather's economy. We can't just buy 2 or 3 stocks and hold them for 20 or 30 years and retire happily and comfortably. This is something that you're going to have to think outside the box. Modern portfolio theory includes alternatives, and access to those alternatives like Bitcoin, crypto, and other alternative concepts that like really pushing that cutting edge envelope. They've usually been exclusive for the rich, the high net worths, the institutions, and those things. And we're trying to kind of break that barrier and really make it so that the average Joe can save on taxes and make smart investments that can change their lives.
So traditionally, are you not able to hold any sort of Bitcoin, any sort of crypto? Is that the problem that we're solving here?
Well, that's what we solved back in 2016, was that there wasn't a way to grab Bitcoin and put it into a tax-deferred, tax-free shelter. So the way that IRAs work is there's about 4 different main types, and each of them has been designed and given to us by the government, which is a very rare thing. Government usually takes for them to give us something, an incentive for us to save long-term and get tax advantages for it. So for example, if you put, every one of us has the ability to put about $7,500 a year into an IRA. And if we do that in a traditional sense, we can lower our tax bill by that $7,500. If we do it in a Roth sense, which is really popular for crypto guys, we don't get that advantage on the front side, but every dollar we go from that $7,500, say it goes to $750,000, it's a completely tax-free solution for folks. And these were actually designed in the 1970s by a guy named Edward J. Roth from Delaware, of all places, because we were in a savings crisis in America. And I got to be honest, I mean, I was born in '85. I think we've been in a savings crisis in America my entire life. Americans just don't save, and then it puts us in a really bad spot later in life. Northwest Mutual had this study. They studied like 2,000, 3,000 folks back in 2018 before COVID. And the average person thought that they needed $500,000 to retire comfortably. And then you fast forward past COVID, past all the inflation, and they just redid that same group last year. Those folks now think they need 1.5 million to retire comfortably. And that was in just 4 or 5 short years. And where are we going to be in 5, 10, 15 more from here? No matter who's in the Oval Office, we started this when we took ourselves off the gold standard in the 1970s, and at some point, the rooster will come home to roost. It's a reality. Fiat currency does not last forever.
So let's use a real world example. So my dad retired three years ago. Traditional police officer pension. He's got his Roth IRA, all that kind of stuff. Let's assume he wanted to do something along these lines. I've orange pilled him as of recently. It only took about a decade, but we finally got here. So now he owns some Bitcoin. We've kind of got him playing around in MicroStrategy and a few things like that.
Nice.
And what would your kind of, not necessarily pitch be, but what would be kind of like the advantage of doing something with the Bitcoin IRA?
So you're probably helping him. He probably rolled over like a 403B or 457, or maybe a pension directly from the department. And thanks to your pops for his service. I know it's not always been easy to be a police officer in this country over the last
definitely not in Houston.
Especially. And so he probably rolled it over, or maybe it's still sitting in that pension sum. First thing I would do if you didn't do that is get it into an IRA setting. Most 401ks, employee-sponsored plans of some sort, are very limited. They give you A, B, C, D fund, and they're really about accumulation, aggregation of retirement money, but not really about investing. So once you're in an IRA setting, that's probably how you're able to get them into some of the strategy, some of the other assets that are out there. What we do is we're just like your Fidelity, your JP Morgan, your E-Trade, but instead of buying stocks, bonds, and mutual funds, you can buy up to we have 80 different cryptocurrencies today, and we put you into a self-directed IRA which is vertically integrated with our trust company. And that allows you to do all kinds of crazy things. So we have a guy in Kentucky, for example. He buys John Deere tractors with his IRA and then leases them out to farms in Kentucky. And all of the passive income that he's making from those leases is going right back into his IRA, tax-free, tax-deferred. People hold barrels of oil in these things at a storage facility. They hold bars and coins of gold and silver in these things. I think I've even seen livestock before, actually. So this is the alternative world that you're walking into. So, and obviously, you don't have to, I never would recommend everybody go all in crypto. I don't go all in crypto. But you find that percentage that's comfortable for you. You know, I think Fidelity just came out with a recommendation somewhere between 5 to 10%. We've had the range. Our early adopters, we had a guy actually quit his job at Intel so that he could liberate his 401k. Because if you're still working and you're not 59 and a half, your 401k is locked up wherever it's at. So he quit his job just so he could roll over his 401k into crypto. And this was back in 2016, 17. So he got in Bitcoin at about $500,000 a unit and has done really well. And now has started early retirement off that decision. But most folks take somewhere between 5 to 15%, whatever they're looking for. I'm not sure what the audience here is. If you guys are maxis, I'm more of a maxi than I'm not a maxi, but I'm not a maxi, if that makes sense. Because I think that sometimes I like to trade alts and other things to accumulate more Bitcoin. You know, when I have the good runs in ETH, Solana, etc., I take those winnings and I roll them into more Bitcoin for long-term holding. But that's probably where I would start with your pops.
We're maxis.
Maxis?
We're maxis, but we're man, I'm a maxi and very much a libertarian too, and people can do what they want, and it's a free market, and I'm like, you know, I'm a Bitcoiner, but you know, let people do what they want to do. I don't try to tell nobody what to do.
I'm anything but the dollar. You know, that's kind of my policy.
Yeah, right. Right.
But I totally get your philosophy of making money in altcoins to buy more Bitcoin, because it's the same thing with make more money in fiat to buy more Bitcoin. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, Justin.
No, it's all right. There's a delay, so my bad. But my bad being in
That's
the sticks.
because it's an undisclosed location that you're at.
Right,
you know,
right. I just crawled out of my cave.
Over your head.
right. Something's blocking my satellite right now. I don't know, but we were talking beforehand a little bit about the mining and how people are using that. It was kind of related to what you just said or what you were just talking about. Can you walk through that again? Because I want to hear it again and have an explanation of that, because I've got an IRA right now, and I'm thinking I might want to do exactly what you were talking about before we started recording.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can also do, alongside all the crazy stuff I was talking about in IRAs, the self-directed IRA, you can do what's called a single-member LLC IRA, kind of more known as like a checkbook IRA or that type. And what you're going to do is say you have $100,000 in your IRA. You're going to invest that $100,000 into a business where the IRA is the single member. It's the owner. Your IRA owns 100% of that business. And you denote yourself as the manager of that business. And this can be done with LLCs or what's called IRA-owned trusts. I like IRA-owned trusts because there's no reporting requirements. You don't have to you don't have to pay an annual fee to whatever state you're in. Some states are pretty comfortable, you know, like they're very low, but you know, like California, where I just came from, it's like $1,000 a year to have a business. But trusts are really nice because you have less reporting, a little bit more privacy, and you don't have annual reporting requirements or fees due for the business. So now you're the business, and the IRA business denotes you, Justin or Jake, as the manager of that business. You don't control the funds, you manage the business investments. So you take that $100,000, and we've had guys that have invested directly into mining equipment themselves. We've had others that have taken that money and invested into other successful mining businesses that exist. There are some rules around that. So if you own a mining business, you can't invest in your own mining business with your IRA because that's a prohibited transaction. Justin was thinking that. That's what he was thinking.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
There are a lot of ways to build those things out. And we've actually had that same guy that I was talking about from Intel that left his job. After Bitcoin did its first run and he went from about 1,000 to 20,000, he started putting his Bitcoin to work to a mining contract out of a group out of Iceland at the time, and was able to turn that return into even larger returns. And then, of course, you're getting paid back in Bitcoin, and it's all staying inside that tax umbrella of tax-free, tax-deferred settings.
Man, that's incredible. I love that. I freaking love that. So you guys will set that up for everyone? Like, we can go to you and you'll help us set that up?
Yeah, we recently acquired a business called Rocket Dollar that's been doing these IRA-owned trust, IRA-owned LLCs for about 12 years, and met their owner, and they loved what we were doing. We loved what they were doing. It just made sense because a lot of times, even we have folks come into our platform, Bitcoin IRA, and they want to have self-custody. So they want to have some kind of key control and key management. And you use that same mechanism of the LLC or the trust to do that, where you're sharing keys between the custody and yourself, and gives you that extra layer of control. So it just fit. And at the same time, they've been building these things for years. So what they'll do is they'll open up the IRA for you, and then they'll help you set up the structure, the entity, and all the documents associated. And then our team will help you move the funds over. And then from there, you're able to make those investments into those businesses.
So one more follow-up on that. Will that equate to basically a loss on your tax side as well? Because you're contributing that to an LLC, and can you take that as that contribution as a loss too on the tax side?
No, I wish, Justin. That's where
that would have been freaking ultimate.
Yeah, let's say that the way that it works is just like, say I bought Bitcoin at peak at like 120 or 115 or wherever it hit, and then I sold it at 75. I'm not able to harvest those losses inside of an IRA because they're already giving me the advantage that if it was the other way around and I bought at 75 and sold at 150, I don't have any tax bill. So it all stays within there. And then what you're doing is deferring towards distribution. So what folks will do is once they actually start taking funds out, it's usually later in life. Sorry, that's my whiskey boy. He's getting excited. I talk about LLCs. He gets super excited.
It's rowdy.
The first human drive by in 2 weeks. So yeah, no, you wouldn't be able to use that same tool where you're driving losses for yourself. That's outside of retirement planning.
Okay, well, that sucks, but it's still a good product.
I got you, man.
Right? Yeah. You can control everything, but that is very interesting, and we're going to talk after the show because this is something that I've been a little frustrated with over the last several years, is the money I made prior to really, my fiat days when I was living in that world. I accumulated some, and I hate leaving it where it's at. So this is actually something very, very interesting to me.
What's also kind of nice about the whole situation is that you can set up with an IRA, you'll have your beneficiary set up. So if something happens to you out there in the wilderness, you can have your wife and your kids dialed in. And we hear so many horror stories about a ledger device that gets thrown into a dump, and then the guy buys the trash dump because he wants to find his ledger device, right? And also, recently, and you guys are probably big on personal security, I just came from the Vegas conference, and I brought my wife with me, and I said, babe, I would wear my shirt. I would change my shirt once I got into the conference. The minute I left the conference, I went back to regular clothes. Because we're going to become targets as crypto guys. We saw what happened in Paris, kidnappings, ransoms. We saw what happened with the guy that was tortured for 2 weeks in New York. Unfortunately, that will continue to happen because of, partially the lawlessness that this country has in major cities these days, but also you're a big target on your back. What I love about our custody solution, which I know is not necessarily the flavor for everyone, is we built a pentagon of custody around your nest egg, and it protects you from the most important weakness is yourself too. As much as we want to have control of things, people get SIM swapped, people get spearphished, all these things happen over the years I've seen, or they get ransom. We had a client once that had a business in California. It was a pretty successful business, and their database got hacked. And basically took control of their entire client database, and they said, we want $1 million of Bitcoin. Well, the person happened to have $1 million of Bitcoin in their retirement account. And they had to make that tough choice of what do I do here? Is my business going to keep growing, or do I have to sacrifice these things? So personal security is finding groups that help you protect yourself from yourself. You're also your greatest weakness. And for your dad, Jake, I mean, he's not as sophisticated, I'm sure, as you or I. I don't consider myself that sophisticated, but I think about my grandparents. I think about clients that are in the later years of their life, or even my own dad, who's only 63. I would not trust him with keys and seed phrases and all those types of things. He shouldn't trust himself with that kind of stuff too. So we try to build a product.
I don't trust my dad with an email.
Yeah, or Facebook, right?
Right. Oh, that's even worse.
So if you have like, let's just use Justin or my dad as an example. You have your existing, say, Fidelity account. They're both old, so this is the same category.
I knew that's where you're going with it.
You have the Fidelity. Do you have to you close out the Fidelity to do something with the Bitcoin IRA, or do you direct a portion of that? Like the mechanics of that? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a transfer. It's a partial. So there's really 3 ways you can fund a Bitcoin IRA. The first is contribution, which you should do your contribution every year because it's $7,500, or if you're Justin's age, over 50, it's $8,000 that you get.
Whoa, Chris!
Well, I can't tell with the pixelation. I don't know how old the man is. I just can't.
I'm trying to hide my identity.
So
the facial recognition stuff. I don't want none of that.
Yep. Agreed. So number 1 is contribution. You get every year you get to put up to $8,000 aside in tax-free or tax-deferred setting. I tell people to do it every year because it expires every year too. You don't get to go back in 10 years from now and go, hey, can I do all these contributions for the last 10 years? There's a deadline. It's on tax day. You have to we have to contribute for the year prior by tax day. The second, which you're talking about, Jake, is transfers. I have an existing IRA at XYZ custodian. You can choose to move a part of that or the whole thing. It's your choice. But we have a team because not every retirement is one size fits all. So one of the things we've always focused on is real crypto, real people. A lot of crypto companies just jump into robots and chatbots and that kind of stuff. We have a team. I have 35 or 40 people that have been with me for about a decade that have helped hundreds of thousands of people open and fund accounts. So that we have to fill out the forms for Fidelity. They have their rules. We send them over. It comes to our custodian, and then you're able to do what you want. And then the last is old employee-sponsored plans, 401ks, 403bs, 457s. I always preach it's so silly to leave those behind. To me, it's like when I was in my college years in Boulder, leaving your favorite hoodie at your ex-girlfriend's house. Like, you just don't want to do that. You don't leave that kind of stuff behind. And so that's our big focus on those. Does that help, Jake?
Yeah, that definitely helps. I was seeing if Justin was going to chime in with this 1 minute delay.
You give me. Yes, I love that stuff.
I've been on a couple of Twitter Spaces this week and last week, and a panel with a group called Blockheads. And there's a guy named Kline on there. And the first video, I'm on a panel with him, and he's in Bogota, Colombia, and he looks like my grandpa, just like he's the sweetest guy in the world. He's got his Hawaiian shirt on, and he loves Bitcoin, but he doesn't believe in Bitcoin. Like, he loves the profitability of it. He's an old school investor, right? I made a lot of money off Bitcoin, but I still don't believe it's the future. And I've had some great debates with him so far. And that's the reality, is that, it's hard to orange pill people these days. There's a profit, there's a fear, and then there's a greed component to Bitcoin. And I think a lot of us that are true believers have a genuine fear of a lot of things. I'm a libertarian. I have a fear of big government. I have a fear of fiat currency failing. I have a lot of these fears, and I have an 11-year-old daughter that I'm trying to make sure that she has a promising future and those things. So, no, I feel you. The jokes about being old, you're not that old, Justin, I promise you. I've been on some panels with some guys where one of them, it was funny because he had to leave early, and everybody else, I didn't say the joke, but everybody else was like, oh, it must be nap time in Bogota.
The thing is, I don't feel that old until I get on here with Jake, and he starts calling me old. So that's the only time I started feeling old. Thanks, Jake.
So I'll be the first to admit I've never had an IRA, but that also comes from the fact that I've never, post Marine Corps, I've never had like
they didn't give you a TSP in the Marines?
You had the ability to, but all my money went to cars and booze, and mostly booze and a little bit of car parts here and there. So I never set one up. But I was also like 19 years old, right? And you have no financial literacy whatsoever. You're not thinking about the future. I was honestly not thinking past the 4 years that I had enlisted for. And then I've just been an entrepreneur ever since. And so I never opened an IRA. And then especially becoming a Bitcoiner, I was just like, oh, that's just part of the fiat system. Fuck that. But guess what? Taxes still apply to me. So do you have any like back of the napkin math or any stats that you kind of talk about? Like, what does this mean in tax savings over the course of X amount of years?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, as a small business owner, you're an entrepreneur, myself as well, we get this extra tool called a SEP, a SEP IRA. And what that is you are able to contribute even more every year. You contribute between 35 to 56,000 a year. So if you have a really good year as a business, you can funnel a huge chunk of that into a tax deferred setting for yourself. You're going to get the benefit on your tax bill, and you're going to be able to trade and build businesses and do other things within your IRA that you didn't necessarily have before. So there is a tool for folks like you, and we have a lot of SEPs on our platform. We have a lot of people because I think there's a kind of an inherent like mutual exclusivity of being an entrepreneur and being a crypto guy too. Like they just kind of most of us are in our own little way.
So is that in addition to the other one, or is that a replacement for
replacement for? Yeah, replacement for. Yeah. I wish you guys, man, the government would love you. You guys are trying to find double, triple dips everywhere.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
I'm sitting here. I'm like, I've got to replay this episode. I have to replay it, take some notes, because all these things. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to do that. I need to do that. Yeah, this is great.
So actually, give me a second. I have an interesting presentation I did just a couple of weeks ago. Give me just a second. I'm going to pull this up because for numbers wise, it's really powerful and it visualizes it as well. So I can spout out a whole bunch of numbers right now, and then your heads are going to spin because I'm going to talk too fast.
So while you're pulling that up, I ChatGPT the SEP IRA, and it said for 2025 contribution limits are 25% of compensation or $69,000 a year, whichever.
Oh, it just went up. That's right. 69,000 is the cap. So yes, there's a percentage, or it's whichever is greater that you can do, or that's how it works. So yeah, up to 69,000 now. Well, they keep going up because of inflation. The government has to keep increasing these limits because when I first started IRAs 12 years ago, the limit was 5,500. Now it's 8,000, and that just goes to show you what the purchasing power of the U.S. dollar has done over that time period.
Wow, that's wild. They went up from 55 to 69,000 this year.
No, 5,500 is 8,000 for regular IRAs. I believe when I first started, the step was somewhere around 35. So it's actually almost it's nearly doubled in a decade, more or less.
That's wild.
Let's go here. So can you guys see this?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I did this for my friends over at BitLabs. I'm not sure if you guys know them. Really cool group of guys. Discover Crypto, DZ, Kelly Kellum, TJ. Just a great group of guys. So I put this together. I did it with them about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's how to save $3.5 million on a $7,500 investment today. So this is Kelly, awesome guy. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, he does some great work. He's more into some alts, obviously you can tell here, but he's 41. He likes to trade altcoins to stack Bitcoin. He's going to do his $7,500 contribution to his Roth at Bitcoin IRA, and he likes long walks on the beach and everything crypto. Just a little layout for him. So I asked Kelly, what are your 3 favorite coins for this cycle, for this current cycle we're in? He likes Link, ONDO, and Tau. At the time, the prices were $16, and $4.40. I asked Kelly, what are your target prices? Because most guys going into this alt world, they have target prices, their exit points. He's very aggressive. He's very bullish in some of these. $200 for Link, $25 for ONDO, Tau is $3,000. So then I took the basic math for him. So here's the coins. Here's his price. I evenly distributed the 7,500 across the allocation. So here's what he would have gotten buying, and then what his target, when he hits his target price, what his value would be. So his gains, if you were outside of an IRA, his total gains are $103,295. The IRS is going to take 15 to 25% off the top of that because it depends on how long the cycle takes. If it's long term, you have to hold it for more than 15 or 18 months. Short term, you're going to get hit harder. So we went with the harder one. He's getting hit with $25,824 in taxes. With his Roth, if he was in the Roth, 0 taxes on those trades. The minute you sell, you get 100% of that money. But that's only the first piece of the loss. So it's like, okay, cool, I saved 25 grand. We're all happy about that, right? We can add a 0 for trading bigger. But now we talk about the purchasing power disparity, the future value. So now, because he likes to swap everything into Bitcoin, if he's in his Roth, he would able to, this was when we were at about 100, I don't remember what price we're at, but he was able to get 0.74 Bitcoin with those winnings or those proceeds. In his non-Roth, he was only able to get 0.57 Bitcoin. So the difference was that $25,000 on that day cost him 0.17 Bitcoin. Now, we're all big believers in Bitcoin. I think we're going to see 1 million when we hit the next halving cycle, maybe before. And we know what FOMO will do. This is a scarcity of supply. This is a supply shock. There's a reason we're in this. To get to $10 million Bitcoin in my lifetime, I don't think is that crazy, personally. Now, how long the holding period is, who knows? But so we ran it off, and I asked Kelly, I was like, where do you think Bitcoin's going to get? And he said, I think it's going to get, he believes in 10 million as well at some point. So now, at that future value, taking that Bitcoin that he got for those proceeds of those alt trades, he'd get 7.3 million in his Roth IRA. He'd only get 5.6 million in his non-IRA. So that's a $1.7 million difference right there.
Wow.
But we're not done, fellas, because the government's not done with you yet. Then what will happen is when Bitcoin hits the 10 million and you distribute those funds, they're going to hit you with another tax bill. Not just the tax bills to trade, but now you have now you're going to sell your BTC, your Bitcoin at 10 million. So you're going to have another $1.7 million tax bill off of those gains from those trades. So by using the Roth, using IRA tools, clients can save. They get more USD to swap into Bitcoin. And by getting that more BTC at retirement, they save money on their taxes again. So I did the math all together. He's going to save the $25,000 this cycle. He's going to save the purchasing power of 1.7 in 25 years, and he's going to save another 1.7 on his retirement savings, on his tax savings, because he's in a Roth. He's going to take all that money out tax free. So this is Kelly and his buddy TJ having beers, celebrating a $3.5 million savings.
Wow.
And so you guys got this all, but that's the power of tax-free retirement savings. Whether you're trading alts and going to Bitcoin, or imagine you are investing in a mining company, or you're running a business that is mining itself, and all those proceeds you're getting back are all in those same shelters. Does that help a little bit, Jake?
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's great. Can you send us that presentation?
Absolutely, I can do that for you.
Yeah,
I just
that's
can't stop
wild.
sharing for some reason.
I love that, man.
So do you,
yeah, real quick, one question on my delay again. I'm sorry. So, I mean, that wouldn't make sense. That's the SEP. I'm gonna go back to that. If I have a good year this year, I can go put in, because I am self-employed as well as I have employment. I don't have an IRA through it or any type of investment opportunity through it, but I do have kind of my side business, right? If I have a good year in that, I can go treat that as a SEP, I believe, and contribute that $69,000. That's tax deferred, and that is treated like a Roth, right?
SEPs are treated like traditionals. So you're going to get the tax benefit.
Okay.
You're going to trade all day and tax-free growth. And then when you retire, you start taking distribution. Most people target, and they get with their tax advisor, they try to get into that 8-10% tax bracket when they're distributing. So they're making, you're basically taking your money out of your IRA when you're not making any other money.
Right.
You don't do it in your peak when you're in your 30s or 40s making top dollar, paying high tax bracket.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm just wanting to contribute as much as I can this year into that. We got to get on a call after this. I'm getting set up with this stuff. I'm done. I'm done dealing with the fiat stuff. Yeah.
So do your clients typically, if they have a significant amount of Bitcoin holdings, do they continue to hold that, or do they liquidate that and then rebuy through the IRA?
So this is one of the things I love about being in crypto, is there's really no atypical investor. So my early adopters I call them my engine nerds. The guy like from Intel, I have a NASA scientist, retired NASA rocket scientist, worked on the heat shields of that. And I'll send you a link of we did a story about Rocket Ron, that kind of shares his narrative. He stays private because we made him into a little person with an astronaut helmet on, so that people don't know who he is, but he lets us share his story. And so those guys, a lot of those long-term hodlers, they just bought Bitcoin. Our first client is actually Ed Moy, the former director of the United States Mint. And he got in, he turned $2,700 into almost $500,000 in 10 years in a Roth setting. And all he did was buy Bitcoin and hold Bitcoin. It did nothing else. So we do have a large chunk. We have 14 billion with a B assets under custody. So we're not some startup that's been around for a few weeks or whatever. We're legit. We're sizable. We have 183 employees. We're regulated by the state of Nevada banking, FID. So we've done all of our homework to get to this level. Of that 14 billion, I'd say about 60% is Bitcoin. So we definitely have a lot of maxis in our world. Another chunk is ETH and Solana. Those are two very popular ones. And then the rest is spread across the other 70 coins that we have. And you know, hey, I have every coin that we offer because I'm the tester. So I have to go onto my mobile app, and a new coin I buy, sell, swap, do everything with it. So yeah, I've got some Pepe in my IRA. I've got a little bit of Shiba. Like, I'm not proud of these things, but they're there. And hell, if ONDO takes off or Fed or something takes off, I'm not going to be mad. You know, it's not like I have $100,000 of these meme coins. But I got $500, $1,000. You know, I think my favorite part about maxis is they won't tell you that they may have secret investments, you know, that they don't talk about, right? There may be a few things that they have. So,
man,
yeah,
I'll tell you.
I would say a lot of
honestly,
hodlers.
Yes. Yeah, sorry, man. I know this delay's killing me, but
it's all good. It's all good.
Everybody has had a path. There may be a handful that didn't. The geniuses like Parker Lewis, they may have never touched any of that other stuff. Dude, I started off, I was buying all kinds of garbage, you know what I mean, and playing around until you learn what it is. So like I don't judge anybody about any of that, man. I hope Pepe just pops.
Well, you know, and there's a lot of misinformation out there too. You know, I constantly hear from friends and family members that have been watching me. I think you guys are my 1578th interview in my career today. So it's this is what I do. I love doing this.
How do you know that number off the top of your head?
Because, you know, I should have been Asperger's or something, dude. It's like
he's an ninja nerd.
I'm an ninja nerd, right? I'm a ninja nerd. But you keep track of those things, and because I'm looking forward to getting to 2000's my goal by the end of the year. So I've got a lot of work ahead of me, and we got 6 months left. But I still have family and friends that watch all my stuff, and they'll come to me like my wife's Latina, and her big Mexican family in California, and I'm the one white boy in the whole family, which is always typical. There's one
gringo.
And, so I'm like at a quinceañera, and they come to me and they say, hey, I think I'm gonna get into XRP because I think it's gonna be the next Bitcoin, and that's just like a lack of literacy, because if XRP becomes the next Bitcoin, then XRP will fail. It can't be that expensive. People don't do the homework on the utility and those types of things. Like, what's the point of XRP? Replace SWIFT payments, replace bank wires. Well, if I have to pay that much, then you priced yourself out of replacement, right? You ruined your own disruption. And there's a lot of coins out there the same way. You know, that's the reality that's out there. Hope that helps.
Yeah.
We're just playing the delay. We used to record in person, and it was so, like, when we all lived in Houston, and it was amazing, and it was so
it was easy.
And then this whole remote thing's challenging. We're still trying to
By the way, guys, I travel a lot. I do media tours in New York, Atlanta. I have to go to Dallas for some stuff next month. So if I'm ever in the Houston area, I might have a bunch of family from my mom's side in Central Louisiana, so like Church Point, Karen Crow, Baton Rouge, kind of area.
I've got some Karen Crow
in my life. So
yeah, you do.
Yeah, Karen Crow. So I've got some Cajuns.
Man,
if I'm ever in that, I used to always fly through Houston to get to Louisiana, which sucks. Your guys' airport's terrible, and it always rains. We always have delays.
Oh yeah.
So I understand why you guys left Houston.
Are you familiar with Peter Thiel's massive multi-billion-dollar IRA?
Big Roth IRA. So that's what he did. Was he negotiated when he started investing. He does his favorite investments in the ones he thinks are going to just take off, like Facebook, Uber. He uses his IRA monies to buy those shares, because you can buy private equity with your IRA. And then it just takes off, right? If he's following the same rules every one of us can follow. Now, do we all have access to pre-IPO stocks like Facebook and that? No, we don't have that kind of stuff. But we, as crypto guys, we have access to something that has less barriers to entry, and mining and all these other places where using that tool, because again, that's that purchasing power disparity. He sells off his Facebook shares. He's going to get hit with a 25 or 15% tax bill, but not in his IRA, not in his Roth. So yeah, definitely same concept.
And it's as long as it's not your own company, as long as you're making an investment in something else. So if I was like, hey, I want to,
you have to have less than 10% ownership of a business, as I believe the rule.
Okay, but so if I was like, hey, I want to invest in Justin's company,
yeah,
and then
Justin
wants, we can just do a swap.
Justin's company. Justin could take his IRA, put it into your company. That we see a lot of those things. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
But not with your spouses or not with your kids. Yep.
I love it. I freaking love it, man.
Again, I'm not a tax
yeah.
advisor. So just to full transparency to your audience, I'm not a tax advisor. I've been doing this for a long time. I know how these tools work, but everybody's situation is different. I would highly recommend before you do anything, build out your strategy. Make sure you sit down with a tax guy. We can even refer you to some ERISA attorneys, and because the last thing you want to do is a prohibited transaction in your IRA. The minute you do that, then they come after you, and it's worse than an audit. They basically will distribute all of your funds. You'll get penalized, and you lose the benefit of the IRA overall.
Man,
It's the government. Right? They don't mess around, bro.
My mind's running a million miles a minute. There's like, I know just, we got to definitely do some calls. I need to get smarter on taxes. That's just one thing I hate thinking about. It falls into the fuck the government category.
Yeah.
It's just like,
completely
let's just throw the T overboard. Fuck this. Anarchy.
And I do know, like, I'm sure there might be people listening now that go, well, everything's going to change because Trump wants to abolish taxes and this, that. Hope is not a strategy. So as crypto guys, we just went off of 4 years, the hardest years of being a business owner in crypto. What was happening with the last administration was hell. And while, yes, I am applauding the new administration and they're embracing us and they're getting out of our way and just letting us innovate, by the time me and you, Jake, because we're younger, I don't know about Justin, but by the time we get to retirement, we're going to have 5 or 6, maybe 10 more administrations. And if you look back since 1905, when the Federal Reserve was created, taxes just generally go up. They don't go down. Inflation goes up. It doesn't go down. And so hope is not a strategy like, oh, I hope that the guy in charge of in the Oval Office abolishes all taxes the day I take my funds out or sell my Bitcoin. That's a really hard thing to time. Like, I love Trump right now, and if he does get rid of the taxes of up to $150,000, then will I sell my Bitcoin just to take benefit of that? Hell no, I'm not going to sell my Bitcoin right now. I'm a long-term hodler. I'm going to hand it down to my kid, and hopefully maybe she hands it down to her kids. So you can't really time tax-friendly environments with your investment strategy. So using these tools really helps you out.
In closing, is there anything else you want to leave us with that we didn't talk about that is just super important for everybody to understand?
Oh, I always like to put the phone number out there. I think that it's I brag about real crypto, real people. And I memorize it over our 1,578 interviews is 877-936-7175. And you'll be on the phone with somebody like me that's been working with me for a decade in about 90 seconds to just evaluate what's your goal, what's your strategy, and we'll try to fit you in the right product.
Speaking of that and then the infomercials that we talked about earlier, you need like a JG Wentworth 877 cash now. You need a jingle, baby.
Do.
I know.
Chris, I gotta say
those numbers are very hard to get nowadays. Those numbers are very rare to get nowadays. It's crazy.
I gotta say, Chris, you have made. I'm gonna start this off and be very honest. I didn't think this would be nearly as good as it has been, but you make a topic that probably is not. It's not the most interesting all the time. You've made it very interesting, educational, and I'm really glad we did this because I'm calling you as soon as we're done with this.
Awesome, Justin. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was in my 20s starting retirement stuff, my friends looked at me, they're like, dude, retirements? What do you want to be old? And it's like, yeah, I mean, I got excited by it. I was telling this story the other day. My Spanish teacher, Miss Gunkel, she just retired this year after 35 years of teaching. And this is Spanish class. And I went into Spanish class my freshman year of high school. And I had tested up because I was pretty good at Spanish. So I was in the junior class.
Humble
because
brag.
all the pretty older girls were in that class. Humble brag. But some random day we walk in and on the chalkboard she's got how compounding interest works, what a Roth IRA is, and so I'm 16 years old. And learning these things, and at that point in time, I still wanted to be a senator. My Twitter handle is @Senator Kline. I really wanted to change the world from within, and I wasn't it was hitting the spot, it got into my medulla oblongata, but I wasn't doing anything with it. But I just have a passion for it because I got to tell you, man, my parents' generation, my generation, my kids, if we can't retire, we're living longer than we ever have. If we can't retire comfortably, we're going to be in a world of pain. And so I just believe in these things. I really have a passion for this kind of stuff. And you got to make it exciting because if you drone on like an economics professor, everybody checks out,
Yeah.
Well, with advances in modern science and my high level of income, it's not crazy to think that I could live to be 250 years old.
If I make it past 90, I'll be thrilled.
There's another humble brag. I'm so rich.
Yeah. My grandfather.
That was a Talladega Nights quote, guys.
My grandfather said this best. You walk in, you come into this world, somebody wiping your ass. You leave with somebody wiping your ass. And honestly, I would much rather go out with dignity. That would be my policy. At 200, I don't think you're gonna have much dignity left. Plus, Jake, nobody's gonna be around, and you're not gonna be able to get a new girlfriend or a fresh. Like you're 200 years old, man.
I don't know, man. With AGI, there's all sorts of crazy things that's gonna happen.
This guy's
True.
gonna go get your HGH next too.
I may just upload my consciousness so I can just swap bodies.
Well, you guys have been really fun
man.
too, Justin, Jake. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
No, this has
Yeah,
been
thank you, man.
great. We're definitely gonna follow up with some calls, and I need to get smarter on taxes and start rolling this thing.
Absolutely. Well, if you
This
guys
has
need
been
anything
great.
else or your clients have any questions or your audience, just let me know. I'll look forward to helping out. I'll come back if you guys want to do a Q&A from everybody or whatever it takes, man.
Love it. Thanks, Chris.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
fellas.
Thank you, Chris.